Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. The program is Focal Point, the home of muscular Christianity on conservative talk radio. The network is AFR Talk, the American Family Radio Talk Network. Now, most of you are aware of the fact that the American Family Association sends out action alerts on a regular basis. In fact, we've sent one out just yesterday urging people in our network to communicate with the FCC and appeal to them to protect decency in program. They're getting ready. FCC is getting ready to relax the standards on both nudity and profanity on broadcast television. And they're going to remove the threat that if you use a fleeting expletive or a non-sexual moment of nudity, that you could get in trouble for that. And they're getting ready to relax the standards. So AFA is weighing in on that. We sent out a press release more accurately yesterday expressing our desire for our folks to go to the FCC website and weigh in. Now, we sent out another action alert here not too long ago that generated some response, some effectiveness, and I want to talk with Randy Sharp, who is our Director of Special Projects here at AFA, because what this does, ladies and gentlemen, I tell you at the end of every program, we are fighting a winnable war, that we are involved in a culture war, but we are fighting a war that we can win. And I want to bring you evidence every day of the truth of that statement, that I'm not just blowing smoke up your nose, that this is a true thing. This is a fact that we can fight this war. Randy Sharp, Director of Special Projects here at AFA, welcome back to Focal Point.
Thanks, Brian. Always good to be with a pro.
Good to have you on. Now, what I want to talk with you about, Randy, is Florida Atlantic University. Now, when you start telling this story, most of our folks are going to be familiar with it, but catch us up to speed. What did Florida Atlantic University do? And then what did AFA do in response to what Florida Atlantic did? And what did officials in Florida do in response to what AFA did?
Well, the first thing that the university did was they took the student out of the classroom.
Now, tell us what was it the professor ordered the student to do.
Okay, the professor took the class. He had all of the students write the word Jesus on a sheet of paper, just like this, to place it flat down on the ground, stand up next to the desk, and then he ordered them to stomp on the name of Jesus.
Now, you think about this, Randy. You think there is no professor who would even think of doing that with Muhammad, ordering people to write Muhammad on a piece of paper, stomp on the floor, because he knows their building would get burned to the ground.
And I'll touch base, and I've got some proof of that here in just a minute. But yeah, the student said, I will not do this. It violates my religious principles, everything I believe in. So the student was removed from the classroom, suspended from this class, and that's where the AFA action alert kicked in.
And in fact, I think the school even imposed some pretty severe academic discipline on him and threatened him with certain punishments.
Basically, for going to an administrator and saying, this is what the professor told me to do, and I refuse to do it. And I think there's something inherently wrong with asking a Christian to stomp on the name of Jesus.
And he's the one that got in trouble from the authorities.
Punished for it.
So what did AFA do?
AFA sent out an action alert to our supporters in Florida. And we learned a couple of weeks ago from a Tennessee issue that if you go to the money pockets, that's where the real pressure is. So our supporters, we ask those living in Florida to contact, number one, your elected state senator, your elected state House representative, and then we ask them to contact the governor of the state. And they did in numbers. Thousands and thousands of emails and phone calls poured into legislative offices and into the governor's office. And within 2 days, it just did a complete 180, Brian. The school placed the student back in the class. They promised to clean his record, and according to the student, the university apologized to him profusely over and over again.
And the professor?
The professor is he's on administrative leave. And I said I was going to come back to this. The university says that this administrator, and he should be placed on administrative leave, but the reason that they're giving Brian is for his personal safety. And the university refused to elaborate on what personal safety entailed, why there was a threat against this, because we know that Christians are not violent people. We're very, very peaceful people. And you alluded to Islam had you been asked to write the name Muhammad on a sheet of paper, yeah, he should fear. He would be in fear for his life, and safety would be a concern. But, it's kind of ironic that the university says for his personal safety, we put him on administrative leave.
But then they will not elaborate. I mean, it looks to me, that looks to me, I mean, we don't know, obviously, enough to know for sure, but it looks to me like sort of a cover. They know that this professor needs to be put on administrative leave, but they're trying to soft soap it the best they can.
Yeah, well, I think the pressure came down from legislators and from Governor Rick Scott in Florida, who said, look, you get taxpayer funds to run this university. It's a public university. If you don't correct the situation, we're going to look at pulling some money from you. And that really got their attention. But I think, secondly, the university had to realize that they had violated the religious rights of a student, which is a violation of everything that we stand for. And they just couldn't do this. And there was a lawsuit waiting to happen, and they knew they would lose. So, yeah, they had to find a way to, the economic pressure, the pressure from the governor, and then the pressure from a threat of a lawsuit forced this university to, number one, apologize to the student, put him back in the class, and then take the professor out of the class.
Now, Randy, let me ask you one follow-up question here. We believe that it was the AFA network that kind of moved the needle on this, and it was the fulcrum through which this change happened. Why do you think that?
The reason we believe that is because we monitor all of the news cycles that followed this story. We looked at a lot of news articles, and nowhere else, there was no other pro-family group or organization out there calling for a correction to this injustice to this student. So and because the legislature got involved and because the governor got involved, which are two specific actions that we had called for, we believe that the AFA action alert and the AFA supporters who took action made the difference without a question.
Because we provided a way for them to make contact with their own representative, their own elected representative, and with the governor's office.
Yeah, when you sign up for the AFA action alert, once or twice a week, we'll send you an alert on an issue such as this in Florida. It could be a state issue. It could be a national issue. And with one click of the button, you can send an email to your elected officials, to a company CEO, or to an organization who you want to send your message to. It's very quick. It's very easy. Requires very little time. So you could be a 1-minute activist and make a tremendous difference.
And we see the way the needle was moved there in the state of Florida. And Randy, that illustrates one other thing. Just want you to touch on before our conversation is over here, that, we send out these action alerts. If you sign up, go to afa.net and sign up to receive our action alerts. These are nationwide action alerts that you will receive in your inbox that have to do with issues where everybody in America is a stakeholder and has some interest in the outcome. But we also, Randy, are able to target alerts to individual states. We can even target alerts to communities. A lot of folks don't know that, because this was an email alert that went specifically to people who are a part of the AFA network in the state of Florida, and we do that a lot.
We do. When we hear from a citizen in a community on a state level or even a county or city level, for example, if your city is looking at adopting some kind of same-sex marriage ordinance or non-discrimination ordinance, giving special privileges to homosexuals, then we can go into that area just where that mayor and city council is. We can let the citizens in that town know these are the people you need to contact, and we also provide that contact information, which makes it very easy to do.
Back when I was heading a pro-family organization in the state of Idaho, I worked on a number of projects with AFA before I moved here to the AFA headquarters. And one of them was a pro-life bill. It was a parental consent bill that was going through the legislature. It was at the first hurdle. And I contacted Buddy Smith, and Randy, you were involved in helping prepare and load this thing up, to send an alert to the committee that was hearing that bill. So make sure we clear the first hurdle of this pro-life bill. And so many people in the AFA network just in the state of Idaho responded that we overwhelmed the inboxes of these legislators. And I had the Senate Majority Leader call me into his office to complain about the number of constituents he'd heard from that were weighing in on the sanctity of life issue. I even had the sponsor of the bill, Randy, had the sponsor of the bill call me and say, Brian, is there any way we can call off the jam here? And I said, well, Russ, I'm sorry. I mean, the email has been sent, the alert is out, people are taking action. We can't call it back. And I said, what's the problem? And he said, well, I'm just hearing from the other pro-life conservatives on this panel how overwhelmed they are with email. And I said, Russ, I got to tell you, that is the first time I have ever been criticized for simply generating too much support for a pro-life bill from pro-life legislators. But anyways, an indication that these targeted emails can be very effective.
Well, they can, Brian. And again, it's so simple to do, but it's critical that the viewer here sign up for the AFA Action Alert. You need to get involved. Your voice can be heard. And the good thing is we protect identities. Some people say, well, you want my name and your address. Well, that's required by the legislator if it's a legislative issue. Those are some required things, but we don't distribute that information anywhere else. So we protect your privacy, yet we give you a voice to contact those who make a difference in our society.
So go to afa.net. You'll find the button, I believe, in the upper right-hand corner of the homepage. Very easy to sign up for these action alerts. And again, we just use the information you give us in order to keep you abreast of cultural issues and giving you the opportunity to make your voice heard. In fact, Randy, I know just the last 30 seconds here, the Boy Scouts are getting ready to make a major vote, and we're going to be involved in that issue.
Yeah, coming up in May the 23rd, I believe the vote is going to take place. Right now, you can go to afa.net. You can sign our petition to the Boy Scouts, which says basically just don't change your policy, protect our youth from allowing open homosexuals to serve in the scouting program. Sign that petition. We're going to hand deliver that down in Texas to the headquarters of the Boy Scouts of America just prior to that vote. We'll be engaging those who will be taking the votes and encouraging them to protect scouting.
So again, that's afa.net. My guest here in studio at our Focal Point studio is Randy Sharp, who is the Director of Special Projects here at the American Family Association. And it's like I tell you every day, we are fighting a winnable war. And here is kind of living proof of how good-hearted people that simply take the time to make their voice heard. Doesn't take long to do it, but it can move the needle. It can advance our values and bring about change from decision makers. So, Randy, thanks again for dropping by.
Brian,
and
always good to be with you, buddy.
Okay, got to let Randy go. He's hooked on our AFA theater popcorn and Dr. Pepper, so I can't keep him away from that popcorn machine any longer than absolutely necessary. Thanks, Randy. We'll be right back with more Focal Point AFR Talk. Stay with us. Back in 2 minutes.